This episode is very special to us as it is very emotional. We're going to talk to a couple that managed to close the distance. They're currently living in the US and he moved for her without even visiting the US before. We're also going to talk about cultural differences and how it feels to feel welcomed in a family without even speaking the same language. We do respect this couple a lot, and by listening to this episode, you will know why. It's just amazing how they handled several situations and how they got to the point where they are right now. Welcome to International Love Story, a podcast about long-distance relationships. My name is Christina.
My name is Ignacio.
And today we are welcoming Tewabe and Sierra from Ethiopia and from the US, sitting in Pennsylvania right now. So they are reunited since this year, actually freshly married since 6 months and 1 day, right?
Exactly.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Thank you so much for inviting us to talk in this podcast and share our story. It's exciting, and we're doing well, processing good news from the US and also some bad news from Ethiopia.
We were talking about it before, what's going on, especially in Ethiopia, how Tewabe is feeling, because right now he's not able to visit his family and friends over there. And he's still waiting for his work permit in the US. So there are a bunch of things going on your end. And maybe you could explain what exactly is going through your minds right now.
Thank you so much for having us, first of all. And I think, I hear all of this stuff is in social media and in broadcast, and looking my country is getting a kind of war, being outsiders, being in the far distances. So hard. I think the case is between the federal government and one regional administration, that was leading the country for the last 27 years. And there is somehow competitions of power, and that leads wars, and I'm kind of stressed it may not end over between the military and the one regional state, and that makes me worried and sleepless nights.
Yeah, he was talking about how, especially being so far away from Ethiopia, he can feel powerless to really do anything. And it's definitely worrisome news. And I think both of us, but especially Tewabe, are really worried about it because Ethiopia is definitely an important place for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had the chance to travel to Ethiopia already a couple of times. That's also the country where you guys met a few years ago. We just think, Nacho had to, I wouldn't compare it, not at all, but Nacho has to pull through a similar situation with everything going on in Argentina right now. And after all, as you said, it feels like there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe.
From the distance, eventually, it's hard to say, right? But I guess you become numb to those things. At least I read the newspaper, the Argentinian newspaper, almost every day, and at some point, unfortunately, it will pass one way or the other. It will get better, or you will, learn to accept it, I guess. I don't know how to. It's not. I know it's not the best advice, but at least with Argentina, that's how I feel. With the distance, you get used to.
Yeah, it's sad. It's so sad. But your family and friends are fine so far, right, Tewabe?
Yeah, they're fine. I think the case is like the federal soldiers and the regional state special, not like people to people. And sometimes I'm looking in social medias and international news, they tries to call it like kind of civil war, but not really, to be honest. Like it is not between people to people. It is one special force with the other one is the kinds of implementing law the government is calling it.
Mm-hmm.
And at this level, if thing is solved in this stage, it will be fine because it doesn't comes to the people and everybody in the countries, like the people are very fine. There's a fight between the soldier and the regional state special. So all of my families are fine.
Okay. So right now you're basically just hoping that things are not going to
get worse.
To escalate even further. Yeah, hopefully the innocent people, most of whom are farmers with limited resources, don't have to get involved in the fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know, it's after all, it's not much you can do, and most probably it's not a lot people over there can do. But yeah, so sorry to hear that. It's just quite overwhelming with all the news going on right now in general. On the one hand, especially in your case, Ethiopia. And then on the other hand, in the US right now with the election, I mean, that's actually not a topic we talked about last time, but we just feel like it's important because you guys are in Pennsylvania right now. And luckily, Pennsylvania, I mean, in our opinion, did a good decision. And we really hope, I mean, you guys, you said before already that you feel very relieved about the decision that was made for good reasons. But I can only imagine how crazy it was the last few days.
Yeah, it was just so stressful to just be staring at the news and at the map and watching so many votes come in, like in a way that doesn't fit with our ethical views. And I mean, it's something that we knew before, but just like seeing that so many people in the country are supporting someone who has said like so many bad things about Ethiopia and about immigrants and about like really anyone who's not like rich white. So it's like painful to just like be reminded that that exists all over the country. But also it's very, very, very encouraging to see that enough Americans voted for Biden that we were able to flip over some states, including Pennsylvania, which I'm so happy I voted in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I'm hopeful for the future, even though it'll definitely take a lot more work.
Yeah. Especially in your situation, as you said, hopefully the new government, crossing fingers that everything will be fine after all, because we still don't know where this is going to lead after all. Is going to support, immigration in general. I feel like as a European, I really hope that America is going to be an ideal again for other countries.
Yeah.
Other nations. And this is a responsibility, I think, but that's just my opinion. So guys, please don't hate me. But I feel like as a nation, as America, and America is huge. It's a great nation. They should take this responsibility. And this is what they did by basically, not voting for Donald Trump.
Voting him out.
Exactly. So, but you're in a very special situation. As I said, you guys are recently married since 6 months and 1 day. And, really...
This weekend double celebration then.
Yeah, we have a lot to celebrate now.
Let's start from the beginning. We already said that you love Ethiopia, so Ethiopia is a very special country for you. We know already about your plans, and we also know why it's so special for you, but maybe you would like to tell it in your own words, how you guys basically met and how everything basically developed to the point where you are right now, sitting together, reunited in Pennsylvania, married since 6 months and 1 day.
Yeah. So we can tell the story about how we met. It's my favorite story, and I'm biased, but so it all started when I went to Ethiopia to participate in an archaeological excavation. So I went over there with like 6 other American students from all over the country, and we flew into Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, which is the capital city, and there we met up with a few Ethiopian students who were studying paleoanthropology at Addis Ababa University, and Tewabe was one of those students. So we all got on a bus together, and we drove half days north to this area very close to the Sudan border. And that was the place where we started the archaeological excavation. So we were camped there for a month, sleeping in tents, a very remote area, right next to a river that flows through the desert. So it was so beautiful. And that's where our adventure really began.
That was end of 2017, right?
Yeah, so that was the end of 2017.
To add a little bit, we meet as far as Ethiopia, especially in northern western parts of Ethiopia. It is very close to Ethio-Sudan border in the local administration, Shimfa Metama. And we were doing there an archaeological excavation, and it is very dry and hot lowland. In that place, as she says, the Shimfa River flows, and we camp very close to the river and eat meals at the river and sitting in the table and crosses eyes, watching each other and hearing the howls of donkey sleeping like in the stars in the night. And in the beginning, American and Ethiopian students were the kind of shy to talk each other. I think it is because of the language barriers. We were kind of shy to start conversation with the American students. But after a couple of days, within like a bit, we start communicating, and yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, after the period of being shy, we all became really good friends. And it was kind of an experience that really promoted friendship because we were all just working so hard every day, like in the hot sun. We would get so dirty because we were literally digging in the dirt, searching for little tiny like bones and like other very small archaeological artifacts. But then we all friends, and we even like wrote a really awful musical together. And then we all like looked forward to the time like after work every day when we would be able to like sit down and talk and get to know each other. And so yeah, we started to talk a lot. Tewabe and I would often talk about just like our lives, and I was trying to learn some Amharic words, so I would like write down some words in my journal and to the Ethiopian students and ask them how you say all of these words. And we became friends first. And then I think one of the first like times that I was like, maybe he might like me. It was on the day of Ethiopian Christmas, which is called Genna. And it's 2 weeks after the like American and European Christmas. So we were all like dancing together to celebrate the holiday at night. And he asked me to dance with him. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, it was nice. As I said before, like we stayed there almost 10 months, and one day is so long in the desert areas, and I love doing that in the field. And Sarah is so ambitious and excited to learn because she's geology. My BA is in archaeology and had experience before to work in the field. And whenever she have a question, whenever she want to know about Ethiopian culture, words, like she's so excited and comes, asks. I like how she's so determined to work in the field. She works so hardly and covers with dust. Faces of Sarah, I remember. And yeah, that makes us more connected, and from one day to another day, it develops, and I feel more comfortable. And I ask her to dance with me there. Yeah.
Which is not really common, right? Because you already said that in our previous call, I mean, you guys would describe yourself as maybe shy, especially when meeting people you don't know at all. It took some time to start conversations. But cultural wise, it's also quite different, the US and Ethiopia, right?
There's very different cultural expectations for relationships, I guess. And Tewabe had the idea that Americans were very like open about expressing love.
Yeah.
Which is not the case for me at all. But he told me later that he kept thinking that if I liked him, I would definitely tell him. So like he was discouraged by the fact that I had not said anything at all. Is that true?
To be honest, I want to add something. Like when we sit in the meal in the morning, lunchtime, and dinner time, we sit across the table and we stare each other. We communicate with A. And finally, there are switches. Herman sitting at the couch and close to me, and we start sitting together. And we were almost like spending more time together, unlike other students.
Yeah.
Developed
but it was still all in the group of students.
all in the group of students.
But we were just sitting next to each other.
Yeah, sitting next to each other, working together, and I feel like too much comfortable with her, and I'm always being myself.
Yeah.
Then I feel like free to. We are working together with her. I have a feeling, deep feeling for her, and I read her feeling because she switches and comes to me. All this hand is like we hold hands when we work.
Yeah.
And finally,
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, like ask her to dance.
Yeah.
I'm glad you accepted my invitation.
Yeah, it was really cool because we got to celebrate actually a couple different holidays while we were there. And so the second holiday was like Ethiopian Epiphany, just called Timket. And it was the only day that we got off from work, like even including weekends. And so what we did on that day is we actually went into the nearest village, and we spent like a little bit of time organizing the school's library, and we also got to go to the market, and then we got to attend a coffee ceremony with the school's principal. And that was so right as we were about to leave the principal's home, this woman came up to our group and she was selling necklaces, and she came right up to me and she was trying to get me to buy this necklace, but I didn't have any money with me, so I just kind of like tried to let her know that I wasn't able to buy it.
Yeah.
But then Tewabe came and bought it for me, and I was like, oh wow, like that's so nice of you.
It is a miracle for me. In the market is open areas, like open marketplace. I was looking a necklace for Tiara, and I didn't found. And finally, that woman comes. It is like golden opportunity for me. I was looking in the market, I didn't find it. That individual seller comes, and I was so happy to find. Like, I don't want even to deal with the price. Like, I give the money, but she asked.
Oh.
Yeah. But even then I was like, was he just trying to be polite to that woman and didn't want her to go away without having sold anything? So I wasn't sure. I even asked him if he wanted me to like refund him once I got my money back. But then that night, the Timcat celebrations involve like these processions of each local church will carry the replica Ark of the Covenant to a place for baptism, right? So we actually got to join the like local celebration where they were like singing and dancing and like playing music and carrying this replica ark in like a parade. And so it was just so fun. I remember that as one of the most amazing experiences of my life, because I was just surrounded by all of these children who were just dancing with me, and it was so much fun. We were like kind of far away from our camp at the end of that after walking with these local people, and then we had to walk back in the dark because the sun had set. And so that is when we were holding hands when we were walking back. And this is one of the times when I think the cultural difference really came out, because so we were holding hands and walking back, and Tewabe was like telling a story. You want me to say it or no?
Just we were talking a story and walking inside the forest, like the night and forest, and the jungles.
Yeah.
A river flows close to the forest, like something comes a story to my mind, and just I was telling about even if it's not a true story, just I create this for myself. So
yeah.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, well, it left me like feeling very confused.
So he told you just a story on the way back, and you didn't know where this is suddenly coming from.
Yeah, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know whether it was just a story or whether he was trying to like talk about us. And he also taught me the word for star in Amharic, which is kokob. And then he said, like, if a person has beautiful eyes, we say kokob ein, which means starry eye. He didn't like say, you have kokob ein. He just said, this is what we say whenever. So I was like, okay, that's good to know. But yeah, I guess when I like really was finally convinced that he liked me, it was another time when we were walking back from this local house where they sell beer at the house. So we like called it a nightclub, but it's definitely not a nightclub. It's this small home that sells beer. So we were walking back from there, and we were holding hands again. The thing is, though, that in Ethiopian culture, it's more common to hold hands like as friends than in American culture. So even holding hands like didn't really clear up the confusion for me. But then like he held my hand like normally, and he said like, this means friendship. And then he like changed his grip on my hand to like put his fingers between mine, like interlacing the fingers. And he was like, this means marriage. Which one is good?
Wow.
And
Imagine, my English is so bad. Like, I know few words.
Yeah,
I can't say what I have inside my head. I can spread over all the time.
That's true. Yeah, his English has improved a lot, and I do think that might have been partially a cultural thing and also partially a language thing, that he was like trying to express his feelings. But to me, it came across as like, are we friends or married? And I was like, like both are good. So I just said both are good.
What does it mean? Does it mean marriage or does it mean boyfriend and girlfriend? So relationship. What does it mean after all?
I don't know.
Like this means friendship in Ethiopian culture, like you hold like this, but like this is a kind of marriage.
Like
And I think on the time I was like, I really like her, but I was very, very shy to tell her. And if she ignores my request, even what says about me, I have my professors there, my classmates, and in the group, like I feel a kind of embarrassed if she will not accept. And I was on the way to tell her how I feel about her, but she didn't come out because she was also shy and nervous still on that moment.
yeah.
But our love developed. We were sitting together, and even in the night when we back from the nightclub, we were working alone. Like we make our own squad, like working on the back and
Yeah.
exploding.
Yeah.
And finally, like I can't resist more than that time. Like I wait a lot for me. She's, I didn't know her feeling, what she's thinking, and what she have a feeling about me or not. And finally, on the night when we back from the house, the beer house, we call it nightclub, I confess my love.
So I'm going to tell you how he confessed.
Okay.
Okay. So we were walking back and it was dark and there was a dog, like kind of right next to the dirt road, and the dog like started barking. And so then Tewabes says, like, come over here. And he like moved me to the other side away from the dog. Because dogs can get aggressive in Ethiopia. So he moved me away and he was like, I don't want the dog to get you because I love you.
Oh. Oh, this is so cute. Oh, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. That's so, oh my God.
So I was really shocked.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Because like, yeah, I definitely don't think he realized that, like in American culture, it's very, common to say you love each other until you've been together for a little while. So he just like confessed it right away, like before we had established any sort of formal relationship, I guess. And I was very shocked.
That night was one of the happiest nights for me in my life because I hear this "I love you" too from Ciara. I'm so glad I told her there.
Yeah, you were like now or never.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the culture difference, to be honest.
Yeah.
I learned that. Like,
Yeah.
in Ethiopia, if you love us, you should tell whether the other person accepts or not. At least you should tell what you are feeling.
Yeah.
But here, finally, learners people, even after they get like boyfriend, girlfriend, they may not say love you.
Mhm.
It's weird in my culture, to be honest. Like, why I live together if I didn't love her?
Yeah. It would probably be before they lived together that they would say, but yeah.
It is a cultural difference. I'm so glad I told you that.
Yeah, no, I am really glad that he did because that was just a few days or really just probably one day before we left the field. So definitely we were running out of time to spend together. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what would have happened if he hadn't said something. I don't know if we would have continued like talking to each other over the phone and a relationship still may have developed, but that was definitely a important part, an important moment in our relationship. even though like I still really didn't know what would happen when I left Ethiopia. I think Tewabe was always very sure and very committed to this relationship, and he knew that we would continue talking, and he asked me like so many times if I would be able to come back to visit. But at the time, I didn't know if I would be able to afford it or have time to come back to Ethiopia. And I wasn't sure. So I still felt like I really did like him a lot, and I did love him. But I just didn't know how we would make it work. I never like thought about distance relationship before.
How long
So
did you stay in Ethiopia for the first trip?
the first trip was 5 weeks, 4 weeks in the field and 5 weeks total. And luckily, we did keep talking. And so after I went back to Colorado because I was just finishing up my undergraduate degree. So I had to finish that. And we kept talking almost every day through chat messages, which was like really wonderful. Like he kind of won me over more in the messages because he writes such sweet messages. And luckily I also like found out that I got a graduate fellowship, so I had like financial means to return to Ethiopia. So luckily I was able to go back after I graduated. And actually even at that time we still hadn't told the other students involved in the excavation with us, even though they were all really good friends. I think we were both, well, especially me, I was like really like worried about what they would think. But I went back and we spent 5 weeks together the first time I returned to visit him, exploring all over the country. And we had such a wonderful time. We went like backpacking and we took public transportation all over the country. So we were, it was like a real adventure. And then when I was leaving, like right before I got onto the cross-Atlantic flight without any phone service, I messaged the group of students in the excavation that we were in love. And I sent that message and then got on the plane and turned my phone in airplane mode. And I was like, I can't deal with their responses right now.
To visit Tewabe in Ethiopia, like, and they asked me like to clarify, especially our best friend is Matt. His name is Matt. Like, he's so excited and like keep messaging me. What happened? Tell me. Because I want to mention here in the field they suspect, and he asks me because we are very close friends, and he asks me, really, do you like Ciara? I think like you are in love with her. You like her. I can read from your eyes. He says, and I say, no. Finally, she told me for the message and gets in the plane, and like everybody asks me.
Yeah. So once I switched my phone back on, there were a lot of messages, and everyone was just like very happy and supportive, and like that was the best response that they could have given. So I was happy.
So some of them kind of knew already what's going on, basically. So they saw it.
Yeah, Ethiopian students knows. I told for my classmate.
Yeah. I think most of the American students had no idea. I think one of the American students maybe.
Yeah, he suspected in the field, but he didn't know what will happen after that.
Yeah. But like all the other ones, even if they had seen us holding hands or whatever, like they don't suspect anything.
Yeah.
So.
just interesting how different culture can be, basically. And it's just crazy that Tewabe, for him, he really tried to convince you, Sierra, basically, tell you that he really likes you, and he just didn't know how an American, or how to tell an American at that very moment, because, I mean, it's just like so different cultural wise, that it often can get very confusing, I guess. But that was in summer 2018 when you went to Ethiopia again, right?
Yes.
Okay. And from there on, it was official. Everyone knew that your boyfriend and girlfriend, and you kept on working, seeing each other again.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we started like sharing more about it, and definitely it was not so secretive. And I was able to visit several more times, which was great. I'm so happy that I was able to do that. I refused to visit if it were shorter than like a couple of weeks, just because it's like such a long flight and an expensive flight. So I would always like wait until I got a break from classes. So the next time I visited after that summer, I started graduate school, and then I visited again in the winter holiday. And that time was actually really special because I got to meet Tewabe's mom and dad. Before that, I had only met his one brother and his brother's family, because they were the only ones who lived in the capital city. But this time we drove all the way to Simada, which is where he was born and where his mom and dad and younger brothers still live. So it's a hard, not necessarily hard, but it's a long trip, and it's hard in the rainy season, which is why we didn't visit before. But because it requires like 3 different buses, and one of them is on a very like an unpaved road, a very like bumpy road. And then from there, we were carrying backpacks because we were going to be sleeping on the ground in his family's home, which is traditionally how people sleep. Everyone's sleeping on the ground, but so we had like sleeping bags and like gear to sleep and like camp out there. So we had like backpacks and the 2 of us, and we probably called one motorcycle.
Nice.
Right? So this is how we arrived to his family's house. We took one motorcycle with the driver and the 2 of us and our backpacks. And it was really surreal for me because like the sun was setting, and this is a place in Ethiopia that tourists don't visit. So as we're driving through this small town, like everyone is staring at me. They're just not used to seeing like a white person there. So everyone is staring, and then we start like going out up into the hills, and the sun is setting, and we're like really trying to not fall off of this motorcycle. And then we finally arrived at his family's compound, and I first got to meet his dad, who is a priest. So Tewabe had like prepared me for what to do when I met him, because the faith is Ethiopian Orthodox, and it's not something that I had any experience with before going to Ethiopia. But his dad was wearing a like cross around his neck, and the first thing he did when I met him was hold out the cross, and I like touched it to my forehead and kissed the bottom in the way that Tewabe had taught me how to do. And then after I did that, his dad approved of me. And I was really nervous because I didn't know exactly what his parents would think, but they were so welcoming. His mom had cooked a lot of food, and so we had a really wonderful time there.
Yeah, for my family, I know religious main thing, like they didn't believe with any color difference or any ethnic or any, like the differences of human being. The main thing, he's a priest. He thinks everybody is the sons of Adam and Eva. Eve, Eva,
Yeah, Eve.
Eve. And religious is very, very. He is a priest and he is literate. So he wants to coach his
He's
kids.
literate.
Literate.
Yes.
He's literate and like religious man. So he give priority for that. And I know my dad's behavior, and he was so happy when she kissed the cross. And yeah, they welcomes her.
Mhm.
You were also telling last time that in Ethiopia, is it still common arranged marriage? Because you said that your brother had an arranged marriage.
Arranged marriage is pretty common in the rural part, especially I grew up in the highlands of Amhara. In that area, it is common. And my elder brother gets married by arranged marriage. Okay, and but for me, it is the culture is a kind of not really like they are changing. Mostly the people who get his education out of church school, they didn't expect to get arranged marriage. But specifically, a person who attends church school is must get married with attended arranged marriage. That for me doesn't work. And I think he already knows when I keep continuing learning until my graduate program is already, he knows I will choose the love of my life by myself.
And he also knew that once you introduced Sierra, that this is the love of your life, right? Because it's also not common just to introduce a girl to the family, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He approved for everything that's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Like I knew that his brother had an arranged marriage, and I didn't like completely know what that meant in our case. So that's part of why I think I was a little bit nervous to see if they would accept me. Like I don't know, in my mind I'm such a foreigner to them. Like, but they did not treat me that way at all. They just welcomed me, and I really respect both of Tewabe's parents. Like we have a big language barrier. They don't speak any English, and I am trying to learn Amharic, but definitely am not to the point where I can actually speak with them. So we're not really able to talk much, but they still like find a way to like make me feel welcomed and really like not. Sometimes I do feel very out of place in Ethiopia, and because and it's not malicious and it's not anyone's fault, but in certain places people are not used to seeing foreigners, so they will make a big deal out of it. And I don't feel that way at all with his family. They just like completely treat me like part of the family. So like both of his parents are so strong. His mom will like carry huge amounts of water from the well down the hill. It's not very close to the house. She'll carry it all the way to the house. And she's so small and just so strong. And she does like so much work for the family. He has 7 brothers. So there's 8 boys in the family, no girls. And like, I just can't imagine like how much work that would be. And his dad, so they're both farmers, but his dad is also a priest, but he works as a priest like for hardly any pay. It's like all service to the community and for in service to the church. And he went to school for years to become a priest and is like completely literate in both Amharic and Ge'ez, which is the like ancient language from which Amharic is derived and is also like the language of the church. And I just remember being so surprised when Tewabe was buying a gift for his dad, and he bought a book written in Ge'ez. And I was like, wow, like he can read that. Like because he's a priest, he's kind of seen as like a leader of the community, and he's called on to like heal people. And it's just he's a very honorable person because he's doing all of this work as volunteer work, basically. So it's really impressive to me.
So with being welcomed into his family, you were automatically also part of the community.
Yeah. What do you think? Am I part of the community there?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think, well,
they call it you right now, like our daughter. She's part of the family.
Yeah, he's told me that when he goes, he's been back to visit his family other times when I'm not able to be there. And people always ask about me.
Everybody asks me, where is you? Why did you came? I think they suspect that other people is outside my family. Because my family knows she is not with me in that day. But other people is suspect this because of the culture. We go there because we are living together, like we are like keep continue as a husband and wife. That is just on their mind. And when I back to visit my families, everybody asks me, where is your wife? They treat us like a wife. Where is she? Why did you came?
That's fun.
Yeah.
She's part of the community right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, but what happened afterwards? I mean, at some point, unfortunately, you had to leave Ethiopia again and back to the US. But was this where you guys basically made the decision already of what's going to come next?
I don't think we had quite made the decision at this point. We were still really trying to find a way to be together. And we had a hope that Tewabe would be able to visit me in the US on a tourist visa. So that was our goal at this point. And that was also something that my mom really wanted because she had not been able to make it to Ethiopia yet. So she had not met him and she really wanted to be able to meet him like before we were married. So we were doing a lot of research into that. And unfortunately, it's just really difficult for people from certain countries to travel to America. And Ethiopia is one of those countries, just because, just in general, like Ethiopia doesn't have a lot of travel freedom with their passport, unfortunately. And also, there's just a really strict immigration policy in America. And so I think there's an assumption for people from a lot of like countries in the global south that they are trying to come to America to live there. For that reason, like essentially an Ethiopian applying for a travel visa needs to be very rich and or like have really undeniable ties back to Ethiopia to convince the consular officer that they're going to come back to Ethiopia. And so such ties could be like dependent children living in Ethiopia or like a very high profile, like once in a lifetime job in Ethiopia or like government officials or like owning a lot of property in Ethiopia. I mean, we still had hope, even though like probably doesn't have those ties to Ethiopia, even though to him, he does have ties to Ethiopia, like in his heart and his family and everything, but he doesn't have children there. He doesn't have property there. He doesn't have like the things that the US government sees as undeniable ties. So, but anyway, I had a like free call with a lawyer to talk about this. And I went in being like pretty hopeful, but this lawyer just was pretty rude and kind of like dashed all of my hopes that he would ever be able to come to the US on any sort of non-immigration visa, even a student visa. Like I was very surprised by the lawyer's reaction, but basically the lawyer was telling me that because we have a relationship, because he has a fiance in America, that would count against him, because that would be a tie for him to stay in America. And so he said that, like, because of that, unless we just like completely hid our relationship, including on social media, we probably wouldn't be able to get him here on any visa except for like an immigration, like marriage-based visa. So that was really disappointing and discouraging to me. And that made me very upset. And the lawyer was also just very rude. He could have said it nicer. But we kind of did eventually. We both decided that we would pursue the K1 fiancé visa, and then we would have 90 days to get married. And then he would apply for the green card. And I mean, we're very happy that that's an option for us, because I know it's not an option for a lot of people. And it wasn't the way that we envisioned it, especially it wasn't the way my mom wanted it. Like, she wanted him to be able to visit and meet the family before he was coming for good. So she was not really happy about that either, but it's not anything against him. Like, she's been very supportive of him in the relationship. She just felt that that was just such a big step. And it is. Him leaving his country and coming here is like such a big step. And then being required to get married right after doing that is a big thing. So we decided to do that. In the meantime, I did still get to visit Ethiopia. Luckily, I could still visit him, even though he couldn't visit me. And we had another couple of really amazing times there. We got to spend more time with Tewabe's mom. We visited this amazing site in Ethiopia called Lalibela, where there's a bunch of churches that are carved into the rock. It's kind of like Petra, Jordan. I think people are a little bit more familiar with Petra. It's kind of a similar idea in Ethiopia, where there's these churches that are actual buildings that you can walk into that have been like carved down into the rock. There's tunnels to get down into them. And it's a very like sacred place. It was constructed in the 13th century, I think. 12th, 13th?
Yeah.
Okay, well, around then, 11th century to 13th century. It's a very like special place. And we were able to visit there with Tewabe's mom to celebrate Ethiopian Christmas, or Gena, which was amazing for everyone. It's something that she's been wanting to do for so long. Never been there before. So that was really great. And I just felt like more part of the family after that. And then we just worked really hard on the visa and on getting him into the US.
It was challenging. Had a lot of challenges. We passed a lot of difficulties, including internet connection and time difference. And even after we get engaged, I can't able to visit her family, her friends, because of the visa process, as Sarah says. And that makes both of us sad. I want to meet her family, I want to see her friends, really, but yeah, and that was like the challenge parts in our relationship. And during the K1 visa process, one of the things that makes me so happy is if it is fair, because sometimes I think it is fraud and it is denied sometimes. And if it is denied, Sarah gets to me promise to back in Ethiopia and do this with me. That was a big guarantee for like our relationship. It means a lot for me.
Yeah, I think the goal was to be together. And I think that if I were not in graduate school and I didn't have this like fellowship that makes me feel like I really need to stay here and keep working, that I would have moved to Ethiopia earlier. But like, because of my goals and my education and all of that, I really didn't want to lose that opportunity. But I did tell him, like, if we go through all of this and we apply for this visa and it's rejected, then I will move to Ethiopia after I finish my master's. So that was our like backup
Plan
plan.
B.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in previous episodes already, that in a long distance relationship, you always have a plan B or plan C. Without it won't work because you can't go the straight way, as in your case. So interesting. It always comes up in any conversation we're having. Yeah. Go through several possibilities. But yeah, you managed.
Yeah.
Luckily, you're living together now in the US. You married beginning of the year.
And you moved in March, right? This year.
Right before
Yeah.
COVID-19 basically hit really hard. You were able to take care of all papers and for Tewabe to stay in the US, which is really crazy.
Yeah. We're very lucky that we're very fortunate that he was able to stay. He was able to come here literally right before the pandemic. He actually had the last K1 visa interview day at the US Embassy in Addis Ababa before they shut down. Only do K1 interviews once a month. So if he had not been able to get an interview on that day and had waited until the next month, he would still not be here. And that's so, yeah, I definitely think about that a lot. That there's just like so many people who were so close to being together and are still not together. So I know that I would feel so defeated if that had happened. And I really think about that a lot. It would have been so hard to be alone during this quarantine time, especially after thinking that in just a couple of months you would be together. So we're definitely really lucky. But also I think despite being so lucky, there's like also a lot of challenges with like adjusting to life in the US in the pandemic. And like, so he came here in March and then we got married in May. We transitioned very quickly from a very long distance relationship to a marriage in which we are quarantined in a small apartment. So it's kind of like the opposite. And I think there's definitely some challenges with that too.
Yeah, before I moved in March, I was working at the National Museum of Ethiopia and the position is of archaeology curator. And even after our K1K is approved and I have the visa to enter US, but it was so hard to leave my job because it is my dream job. I work so hard and it is not easy to give up my dream job. And like it was so many challenges. After I moved here, like the culture is completely different from the way I grow and I struggle to adjust, but I'm so happy CRA is always with me. That helps and like living and working with the crowded city of 2 years and getting quarantine and no one is here except Sierra and shut down city because like kind of a ghost city for me the city because people drive with cars I didn't see as much as these people is working in the street just like empty city sometimes what happened to this country where is the people where they are living I was surprised even in Denver I didn't see as much as people as I was expecting and it's so much hard to leave my job and right now because of the adjustment of status process I can't work here in the US I don't have a travel permit but in this time I didn't get paid but I worked as 1 month archaeological excavation in Wyoming even after I came US that helps me somehow to feel like I am still on the tracks of my field I am still on the ways of my discipline and it helps me a little bit to adjust myself in this country.
Yeah, to keep yourself busy, to connect with other people, that's very important. And I mean, you still have to think about you've never been to the US before. And then suddenly you fly to the US, you get married. Your family, unfortunately, wasn't able to join. There are a bunch of things, a bunch of emotions. Everything is just completely new. The pandemic, like, you can keep on counting. It's crazy. And you manage all this together. And that's the thing. You're not alone. You're supporting each other. And that's so important right now because what you've been through, I mean, can only imagine how hard and how difficult it was, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, it was so hard. Like more than I can express it. I don't know, like spending whole time at home, even psychologically, it was difficult. The pandemic on the beginning because we don't have as much, what do you say, the understanding is of the COVID situation is
there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, with uncertainty and we sit at home and like focusing to read articles, but I get like disinterested and it was a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
So crossing fingers you get the work permit soon. So that's gonna be the next step, the work permit, hoping that the pandemic will lower soon, that the number of infections is going to slow down. And afterwards, you are having big plans as well. I mean, for now it's the US. For how many years though?
Yeah, so we are planning to stay in the US to complete our PhDs. Tewabe is currently applying for PhD programs, and we're not sure where we will end up within the US since he's applying to different places. And I will be continuing my program here, but will very likely be able to work remotely and live with him while continuing my program here, no matter where he is. And so for anthropology PhDs, it can take like 6 to 7 years, and that would start in the next fall. So it'll probably be like at least 7 more years in the US. But within that time, we definitely hope to visit Ethiopia as much as we can. Hopefully COVID will calm down, as you were saying, and also hopefully Tewabe will get his travel permit soon so that he's able to leave the country. And then as soon as we feel safe, we'll go back to Ethiopia. I think that would be really good, especially for Tewabe and also for me. And we are planning to have weddings since we did not have a wedding. We're planning to have weddings in both Ethiopia and in Colorado. So with both of our families. So I'm really excited about that. We're still unsure about when that will be because of COVID. We really want to be able to have a party and we want people to be able to come because it's like such a big deal for us. And also so many people still have not met Tewabe. So I really want my family to be able to come and not be restricted by COVID. So we're planning to wait until we can really do that safely. And in Ethiopia, the wedding will be very exciting and interesting for me because it'll be a traditional Ethiopian wedding with Tewabe's family. And it's very, very different from the wedding traditions that I'm used to.
Tewabe, your parents are amazing, really, because I can only imagine what it means for a son to move so many miles, to move abroad and to live in another country with all those challenges, not being able to basically join the marriage. And it seems like they're very traditional, but to accept it and to support you and basically to look forward to having the big celebration in Ethiopia all together with your family, Tewabe, and friends. And I just think it's thinking about it. I don't think it's a matter of course, if you could say so, if you understand what I mean, in your culture to be so supportive, in a situation like you are right now. Because after all, you're their son and you're so far away and you are married and like all those things. It's really amazing. Can be so lucky.
Thank you so much for saying that. And yeah, I'm so glad my families are open-minded and allows everything to do whatever I want to do. And right now they're so excited to see our wedding in Ethiopia. And like I get to them promise to have a wedding in 2021 at least. That's because of the pandemic. It is uncertain. Recently, I called to my mom before a week, and we had a long phone talk, and we were discussing about our marriage. She is almost on the way to prepare stuffs and like getting stuffs ready for the wedding. But I told her, just hold on it. We are not sure about the travel and about the COVID situation. And like she's a kind of disappointed because she was hoping to see us soon, but telling for her uncertain time makes her, I think, kind of worried.
Mm-hmm.
During the time when I go there to say goodbye before I fly to US, we spent a wonderful time, and I see she was crying when I say goodbye. But yeah, they accept is everything what I want to do. I'm so glad.
Because you're in good hands. Yeah. So they know that.
Yeah, his mom is always saying, like that I have to take care of him.
Yeah, you do, and you do have to, and you do take care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Oh God, now I have to be careful not to cry. Oh God. No, I just think that's just something that I can only talk for myself, but I know Nacho sees it the same way. That really warms my heart to know there's a cultural difference. And for your family, Tewabe, it wasn't easy at all to let you go. But they know that there's someone on the other end of the world taking really good care of you, supporting you no matter what. And they know you're going to see each other again soon as all this craziness is over. And they're really looking forward for having this celebration with you guys in Ethiopia, hopefully including some of family members and friends of Sierra. But to have like basically a huge reunion, if you could say so, to celebrate life, to celebrate love, to leave everything that's going on right now somehow behind you. And I think this is going to be really amazing. And I'm so looking forward for you guys to have this very moment. And both of your hearts are actually in Ethiopia. Like you feel very connected to Ethiopia as well, right, Sierra?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the goal is to eventually live in Ethiopia together. Just keep that in mind as we work toward it.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy. Tiara loves Ethiopia and Ethiopian culture a lot. Like, I think she feels Ethiopia is her home right now. And he starts missing the culture and everything. Always she says, I miss Ethiopia and I want to go back there.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping we will live there. My dream is to live in Ethiopia and to work there with her. And I'm so happy she accepted that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really important thing in our relationship and probably many other multicultural relationships, that like we both really respect each other's culture. And even more for Tewabe than for me, his identity is so rooted in Ethiopia, and it's very important for him that his partner, that is me, is very welcoming of Ethiopian culture. And for me, it's not as important that he embraces American culture. For me, it's more about I don't know, I guess my subculture growing up in Colorado was more like getting into the mountains and hiking and biking and just being outside. And that's important to me. And that's something that we've been able to do in both Ethiopia and in America. So I think that, yeah, I think it definitely varies depending on like how connected people might feel to their culture. But for a lot of multicultural couples, that would probably be like really something to pay attention to and to like really respect each other's identities and each other's culture.
So if you could give one advice to anyone else being in a long distance relationship, what would it be exactly after all?
I think a couple who comes in different backgrounds, like they bring their own positive things for their life. We call it in English a melting pot, like
Melting pot.
a melting pot. And it's wonderful because they both bring their own positive sides of the culture and applies to their life, and that contributes a lot to live in harmony. And it's nice to learn different cultures, different language that is outside of my own culture. And like knowing things is as each day experiencing a new life, experiencing a new way of like tradition. For example, we didn't celebrate Halloween in Ethiopia, and for the first time, I see how people celebrate this Halloween, how they carve pumpkin, how they painted pumpkin, and like it is fun and nice. And each day you see several stuffs. It looks a mini things for like for Sierra, she may think it is just normal for her, but it is not normal for me because it is a joy and happiness as each day I'm looking.
Yeah.
On her side, for example, she moved in Ethiopia and attended several cultural festivities like Epiphany, like we call it Tunkat. For me, it is a normal tradition because I grow there, but it is a big joy and happiness for Sierra to see such types of diverse cultural status. So very importantly, they share culture, they share tolerance, harmony, respecting others, welcoming people whenever they spend their life. Even if we live outside US or Ethiopia, we know how to greet people, how to welcome people. The reason is we experience this moment once in our life, and it is so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like embracing all of the new joys.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think like going through the process of the long distance relationship and the immigration process, it really helped me to write about our story and to share it, which is not something that I did until like a little while into the experience. But once I started like sharing what we were going through and getting a lot of like positive responses, I felt like a lot better. I felt like I wasn't just dealing with it by myself anymore. And then also through doing that, like we were able to connect with so many other couples, such as yourselves, who have like similar experiences and stories to share. So that's definitely something that I would recommend to any other couples in this situation, or any other families who might be separated, like talking to other people about the experience and sharing with others who have similar experiences and who really understand. Because a lot of times the people closest to you, like in your community, may not understand, even if they're very, very supportive, if they haven't been through similar experiences. So that's definitely something that helped me. And I'm just so grateful to have met so many amazing people through this experience. And these people also can help with like questions about immigration as well. But I guess the other part of this advice is that it can also be helpful to talk about immigration stuff with a lawyer, hopefully a lawyer nicer than the first one I talked to. And oftentimes the lawyers will offer like a free consultation. So that's another person who multicultural couples can talk to about specifically about like immigration policy and how they're going to get together in the long.
Yeah. There are so many details you have to take care of. You can't know that. You can do your research, but there's almost no way to get all information you need because every case is different after all.
Exactly. And to be sure, you always have to go through a lawyer. But, we are really happy that you were able to close the distance.
Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to be able to share our story here today.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed this one. Also feel free to contact us on Instagram and or Facebook. It's International Love Story. In case you have any questions. And we are going to link the contact details of Sierra and Tewabe in our side notes as well. Take care and hope to hear you soon.